Let's say you want to know about fishing. And be honest, like just honestly, what would you do? You know where you can fish, what size fish, how many you can keep. What are you going to do? Good. So that may be, you know, something that you would do. But like, just how would you find the laws? Like, you know, what would you do to find the laws? Yes. Good. So maybe the game warden doesn't have enough time to talk to everybody, right? All of us. But we all want to go fishing. What should we do to find those laws? And like I said, be honest. What would you do? Yes. Just look it up, right? Like a lot of times there's always a kid that's like, probably Google it. Yes. So if you were to Google it, if you were to go online, or if your grown-up was to look up Fishing Hunting Laws Kentucky, what's going to pop up is this Kentucky Fishing and Boating Guide. And then, of course, we also have our Kentucky Hunting and Trapping Guide. So you can find these online right now for free, or if you want a copy of it, this is what it looks like. I know some of y'all recognize it. So you can get this little magazine, our guides, for free anywhere you buy hunting and fishing licenses. So most of you guys don't need them yet, but your hunting and fishing licenses are for sale in places like, if anybody ever goes to Walmart, back like where the camo and stuff, where the, you know, outdoor stuff is, you can pick one of these up off the counter for free, and that way you have all the laws that you need to know before you go hunting, fishing, boating, whatever it is. And do you guys think, can those laws about hunting and fishing, do you think they can change? Yes, certainly they can change. All the ones I'm showing you right now, they're the old ones, okay? I think the ones on the screen, that's from like 2014, all right? So you have to make sure you have the one that's up to date. That way you're up to date. Because these laws, boys and girls, are actually based on science. And our scientists, okay, they're called biologists. So biologists, let me see this. Raise your hand silently. Does anybody in here plan to work with animals when you grow up? Anybody that's like a job maybe you want to have something really? Okay, cool. All right, hands down. So a lot of times I'll talk to kids that want to work with animals and they, you know, say they want to be a vet or work at the zoo. But you guys, think about our wild animals here in Kentucky. You all think of your favorite wild animal. There is probably a biologist that is working with that species of wildlife, that, you know, wild animal, whatever it might be. We have elk, you know, snakes, bear, fish, whatever it is, there's a biologist, either wildlife or fisheries biologist, researching, working, and trying to enhance that population of that animal. So really cool job, also really important. And think about, we would not have all these fish and wildlife if they didn't have good habitat or good places to live. So biologists also are out there enhancing the habitat as well. So they have places to live, food to eat, all that kind of stuff for healthy fish and wildlife populations. Now, raise your hand. Has anybody ever been to a boat ramp before? I know some of you guys said you like to go boating and stuff. Okay, all right, hands down. So some of our boat ramps were built by Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, those engineers building things like boat ramps, shooting ranges. If you guys have ever been to a wildlife management area, a lot of those places are enhanced by our engineers. Now, the last career we'll talk about, this, you know, is a little bit about my job because I'm called a conservation educator. So you guys, I know I saw you last year, so you know what I get to do. I go to schools. I talk to kids, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders about different topics. But in the summertime, because you all, it's getting close, right? It'll be here before you know it. So anybody got summer plans, right? Summer break? You all aren't going to be at school, right? So can someone raise your hand and tell me, what was it that I did during the summertime? And somebody, when we were walking in, was already saying it. But what do I do during the summer? Yes. Very good. It's a camp. Good. Remember the name? What was it? Camp Curry. Very good. So Camp Curry is one of our 3 conservation camps here in Kentucky. You all, as 5th graders, you all are invited to come to Camp Curry this summer if you'd like to. So I'll remind you guys all the details about it. If you're interested, then I might see you there this summer. Fingers crossed that you'll be there this summer. So I'll talk about Camp Curry, but that's what I get to do during the summertime. And today, we're going to kind of go off one of my favorite topics, which I love talking about those wildlife that sometimes aren't, you know, very understood, sometimes aren't people's favorite, or sometimes have these like crazy myths about them, right? Sometimes that's like the reason people don't like certain animals, just because there's, you know, something untrue about them, these myths. Because you guys, is a myth, is that something that's truthful? No, of course not. You all know what a myth is. So a myth, remember, that's a false belief or idea, but it is widely held. So a lot of people believe it, you know about it, but it's just not true. So there's a lot of them. So a first myth we're going to get to the truth about is this whole thing about if touching, usually it's a toad, right? Because toads have that bumpy skin. So touching a toad will give you warts. Or even worse, if you're peed on by a toad, you're going to get warts, right? It happens. Raise your hand who's been peed on by a toad before. It happens, okay? Hands down. I know some of y'all, that's your favorite thing to do. You just love catching frogs and toads. But those toads, you guys, do have bumps on their skin, but they're not the same thing as what we can get on our hands, you know, some feet, that kind of thing. So warts that humans can get are actually spread from human to human. They're spread by a virus. Mainly that's getting in through our skin if it's broken, like through a cut or a scrape. Sometimes people with that virus end up getting warts. Sometimes people with the virus never get warts. Warts aren't a big deal, but they're definitely not from toads, okay? Now, if you guys do, next time find a toad, okay? If you guys see those bumps on their skin, remember, not the same thing as what we can get, but those bumps can tell you a lot about that toad. It can tell you what kind it is. So we have 2 different species of toads here in Kentucky. All right, over here, this one, that's called our American toad. Right here, this is a Fowler's toad. Down here, this is an eastern spadefoot, which looks very similar, but it's not a toad, okay? So if you all find a toad that has bumps that are usually by themselves, they have like single bumps, or if they have a cluster of 2. So if you see bumps either by themselves or maybe 2 together, that's usually the American toad. If you see clusters of 3 to 4 bumps together, that's usually the Fowler's toad, okay? So if you see a single or clusters of 2, what kind of toad was it? American, good. What about 3 to 4? Fowler's toad. Now our next one, you all, raise your hand. Has anybody ever heard that owls can rotate their head completely around or do a full 360? Okay, all right, hands down. Now, you guys, we know this is a myth because imagine it. What's in their neck kind of, you know, is similar, very similar to what's in our neck right now, right? Our spine, you know, esophagus, all kind of blood vessels and stuff. If an owl was to completely rotate their head, they would be cutting all that off, basically be decapitating themselves every time they did that. We wouldn't have many owls left. So what owls can actually do, not a full 360, but about 270-degree rotation. So if it's, you know, looking forward like right there, that 270 degrees, that's a lot farther than we could ever even imagine rotating our head, right? That's not happening. But for us, our eye sockets, you all know you can look forward, but you can look left. You can move your eyes around a lot, right? You can roll your eyes, right? Owls can't do that. And owls' eye sockets, they're actually fixed. So imagine, you can kind of hold your hands up and even like pretend, imagine your eyes always face forward. You couldn't look left. You couldn't see any of that stuff. So owls, that's kind of how their vision works. They have those fixed eye sockets. So being able to rotate their head really helps with their, you know, being able to survive, escaping predators, looking for prey. Rotating that head makes up for that eye socket not being able to move like ours can, right? Now, most owls can do this 270-degree rotation, including the one on the screen. Can you raise your hand and tell me what kind of owl is that? Anybody recognize what kind? Yes. A barn owl. Very good. So that's a barn owl. You all, we used to have a ton of barn owls all over Kentucky. Today, they're actually kind of rare to see. So if you all ever spot a barn owl, reporting that sighting to Kentucky Fish and Wildlife helps those biologists out a lot in their research. All right, so next time, if you guys do ever see a barn owl, that's an awesome sighting. So reporting it to Kentucky Fish and Wildlife helps the biologists out in their research. The owls aren't in trouble or anything, okay? They just, knowing where they are, knowing where they're nesting especially, is going to help them in their research, hopefully to help our barn owl population in Kentucky. So if you do see one, reporting it helps them out. All right, now our next myth, and let me explain this one because I know you see the picture up there, but the myth is that possums can hang by their tails. So when I say this, what I'm talking about is like hanging upside down for maybe taking a nap, maybe hanging upside down like, you know, just talking to their friend, hanging out with their friends, whatever it might be. But they're not really doing that. So this possum right here, this is a baby possum. It's very small. I know, raise your hand if you've ever seen a possum before in person, right? Okay, all right, hands down. I know you all probably seen some big possums. They can be a pretty large animal. So hanging upside down by their tail is not something those adult possums are going to be able to do for any amount of time. Now, their tails can kind of act like another arm. Y'all can see that baby possum was going to hit the ground if it didn't grab a hold. But that's going to be for a few seconds, maybe a minute, but definitely not any period of time if it's an adult possum especially. So they're just too large to support themselves with their tail. And you all, that's just one of them. There's a ton of myths out there about possums, okay? Now, we'll talk about a couple more, but you know, possums being gross animals. You all, possums, they are pretty awesome because they are our only marsupial here in North America. Now, these marsupials, when they're born, the babies are usually pretty tiny. They're hairless, kind of baby possum almost looks like a little naked mole rat. All right, if you're a little naked mole rat running around the woods, you're not going to survive for very long. So what'll happen is they'll go into their mother's pouch, they'll drink milk, they'll grow bigger, they'll grow hair. Once they're too big for the pouch, because think about it, there could be, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 baby possums in there. Once they're too big, they still need their mother for a while. So can you raise your hand and tell me, how does that baby possum, how are they all going to keep up with their mom? Yes. They stick on her back, right? Y'all can see nature's minivan, right? Just riding around, hitching a ride. Wherever their mom goes, that's where the babies are going because they're going to ride around. Usually, like, you know, for a few weeks of time, that's where they're hanging out pretty much. That's how they keep up with her. And when they're too big, right? It's not like, I know that sounds fun, riding around and stuff, hitching a ride everywhere. But once they're too big for their mother's back, it's not like a, you know, a ceremony. They're not like, all right, baby possum, go out into the wild, be on your own. Basically what happens is they just fall off, right? They just fall off and they got to go figure it out. So possums, you guys, like we said, that's the truthful thing about them, but there are a lot of myths, including, what about, has anybody ever heard that a possum has rabies? Anybody ever heard that before? All right, hands down. So you all, when it comes to rabies, there's a lot of animals that people associate or think of when they think of rabies, possums being one. Which honestly though, possums, it's kind of rare almost for them to get rabies because their body temperature stays so high. They're not one that gets it very often, okay? But there's other animals, right? Bats, we talked about that one last year. What about something like a raccoon, right? This guy, he definitely looks like he's gonna give somebody rabies, right? And that's the myth, right? All raccoons have rabies. Somebody will see a raccoon, they're like, oh, stay away from that thing. It's disgusting, it probably has rabies. You all, I know we kind of talked about it last year with bats, but remember, rabies, especially for animals, is usually deadly, right? So if every raccoon had rabies, we wouldn't have many raccoons running around, and there's a lot of them. So every, you know, raccoon, every bat having rabies, that's just not true. All right, so let's talk about the truth. Now, rabies is generally a deadly virus that is mainly spread through a bite. So usually saliva is how it's spread. The biting, that's where it comes from, right? That's how that saliva gets spread. So humans, okay, any mammal can get it. Does that include us? Like, could we get? Yes, humans could get rabies. So that's why, guys, we do have to be careful, but we definitely don't have to be scared about rabies. You all don't have to live your life thinking, oh no, when am I going to get it? Because, again, it is pretty rare for humans to get today. But we definitely have to be careful. So if you do not want to get rabies, which you don't, okay, nobody wants it because, again, it can be deadly. The biggest thing you need to remember is never handle wild animals. So if you guys do see a wild animal, definitely keep your distance, right? Keep your distance. Wild animals, you know, probably if you get too close, they're going to end up biting you, right? Remember, anything that has a mouth can bite you. If you do end up handling a wild animal and are bit, especially if it is a mammal, let an adult know so that way maybe they can contact your doctor, the local health department, and if you need treatment, then you get it. Because you all, for humans, rabies is treatable. Humans don't have to die from rabies, okay? Wildlife need our help. Now, the help I'm talking about, because they do, you know, helping with habitat, enhancing our wildlife, that kind of helps good. But what I mean when I say help is the help that sometimes we think of. Because I know some of us have big hearts, right? And you're like, well, Miss Kaylin, you know, I see these little animals outside, and what if it's cold? They might be cold. What if they don't have enough? What if they're hungry? Or, you know, that kind of stuff, right? That's the help that sometimes we want to give. But boys and girls, is it ever a good idea to try to make a wild animal your pet? No. No, very good. What about, you know, feeding those animals? Is that okay? No. No, okay. So, you know, there's a couple exceptions, right? But when it comes to seeing something like raccoons, possums, that kind of stuff, just feeding wildlife can really, really have consequences. So, for example, you guys might go to even a place like a park that there's like a pond and stuff. You all might see a sign like this that says, do not feed the wildlife. It affects habitat and creates overpopulation. That is so true, especially for animals like ducks and geese. Do you all know, do ducks and geese, I know this one's kind of weird looking, we'll explain it. But do ducks and geese, are they migratory? Do they migrate? Yes. Yes. Now, if they're getting fed though, especially, you know, good food, human food, stuff that they almost like, it's kind of like they get addicted to, they know that they're going to have food and they don't have to migrate anymore. They don't have to leave to find food. So that's kind of where the overpopulation can come from. Even at your house, right? You're feeding a raccoon on the back porch every now and then, right? You're just leaving it scraps. Pretty soon you're going to have like 15 raccoons on your back porch. So again, it can create overpopulation, and sometimes it can even have consequences for animals. Because think about it, our food, you know, if you're feeding geese and ducks and stuff, it's probably bread. A lot of times that food is lacking certain nutrients, and it's also a lot higher in calories. So when they're eating it, like what has happened to this Canada goose is its body has grown too quickly. What will happen to them is their wings just kind of turn outward. So this is called angel wing, and this is something that, do you guys think, can this goose ever fly now? No, it's stuck there. So that just came from eating, you know, too much human food, that kind of thing. So if we do want to protect and help our wildlife, boys and girls, the best thing that we can remember to do is to keep our wildlife wild. So let's talk about Camp Curry for 2023. Now camp, if y'all forgot, it is located down here. It's on Kentucky Lake. So in that red circle, y'all can see for us, yeah, it is about a 2.5 hour drive. But luckily, if you came to camp, you don't have to get the family together. Y'all don't have to load up in the car with all your stuff, fight over what kind of road snacks you're getting, because you all will meet us in E-Town. You guys will load up on our buses and we'll head down to camp all together. Now, once we get to camp, kind of the first thing that happens is we get unpacked. You guys will get into your cabins. So a cabin is looking like this. All right, nothing fancy. Y'all let me repeat. It is camp. No room service, you know, there is air conditioner in there, but nothing fancy going on. But a cabin really, you all, is where your stuff goes. It's where you sleep at night, but it is the group of kids that you go to different activities with. So I know what you're thinking, Miss Kaylin, can I be in the cabin with my friends? Yes. So if you know somebody at camp that you want to be in the cabin with, we'll make that happen. There are 4 cabins for boys and 4 cabins for girls. Now in each cabin there are about 26 kids, and then there'll be 2 counselors. Counselors are the grown-ups that work at camp. Basically make sure you have what you need, you're, you know, at activities when you need to be, that kind of stuff. So let's talk about the activities. You all, some of these activities do count toward earning your orange card. Which, remember, I know we talked about last year, it's also called your hunter education card. We call it orange card for short. Do you all see why? Okay, good. It's a card and it's orange. So that's your orange card, you guys. Your hunter ed card basically proves with that card that you've been to a hunter safety class. Now, going to that class, learning how to be a safe hunter is important, and that's something, that orange card is something you have to have once you're 12 or older and hunting on property other than your property, or, you know, for you all, the grown-up you live with. So if you're on public property, you're hunting at somebody else's house, then you need to have earned that orange card. 12, that's, you know, when you have to have it. 12 or older, hunting on property that's not yours. But you can get it, though, as early as when you turn 9. So if you're 9, 10, 11, you guys, 5th grade, right? 11, 10, 11, right? Right? So that means you guys can get your orange card. Now, can anybody raise your hand and remind me, how long did it last? Like if you get it, let's say when you're 10, or let's say you get it when you're 9, how long before you have to go to another class or get a new one, renew it? Yes. It lasts your whole life. Very good. That was a trick question. I hope y'all are going to say forever, because that's how long it lasts, your whole entire life. You can earn it once you're 9 years old, hunt, you know, when you're 109 years old, and you're always going to have your same orange card. Right? I don't know what you're doing out there at 109, but you might be active, right? So that's orange card, again, going to last your whole entire life, and 12 or older, that's when you do need it, okay? So that's something that you can get at camp. You can get it other places than camp, but camp, one way to get it. Now, another thing you guys can earn are your badges. So the badges, they do just look like this. They're little circles, okay? That's just something to work toward. So there are 7 total. If you successfully complete an activity, you will earn a badge. I've seen kids like put them in their scrapbook. I've seen kids like sew them to their shirt when they get home. I've seen, you know, kids walking around camp with a sweaty forehead, stick it to your forehead. Mini frisbee, whatever it is, that's yours, okay? You earned your badge. So these badges, once you earn all 7, if you do, they become good for what's called your Outdoors Woman or your Outdoorsman Award. And with that, you're also entered into a chance to win a duck hunt with us at Camp Curry, which we just did last month. So that, again, something to work toward. Now, let's talk about those activities. So the activities, we're going to start at the water. So we do have boating. You all, we have motor boating. That's where you're going to learn how to drive these motor boats. Then you will, you know, learn. Then you'll get in the driver's seat and you'll be the one driving that boat. So for some of y'all, pick who you're riding in the boat with wisely, because they'll be driving that boat. Now, next up, you guys, at boating is canoeing. So we'll have different like paddle strokes we learn to be able to get around on that canoe. That way you don't get like stranded in the weeds on the other side of the lake. We want, you to successfully be paddling around and stuff. So that is boating. Now, next up is fishing. So at this one, I know, watch out for him. He's the best one, best fisherman. So at fishing, you guys, you all know what we'll be doing here, but here you get your casting badge. So you'll be trying to cast into targets. That way, we don't cast with hooks yet, but that way when you are casting with the hook, your hook is actually going where you want it to, not in the weeds, not ending up in the trees, not, giving your buddy a piercing beside you in the face or something. We want your hooks to go where the fish are, right? We do not cast at camp with hooks though. So that's what we do at fishing. Now, if you guys do end up catching fish, you might end up winning the most fish award, or we also have an award for the biggest fish caught as well. So I know you all might be thinking it, well, Miss Kaylin, I know how to do that stuff. I'm a pro. I have my own boat. I go fishing all the time. Camp is a great place to show off your skills. We even have competitions you might win. If you are a pro, or if you want to learn how to do some of this stuff, camp's a great place to do that as well. Now, next up, you guys, we do have swimming. I know some of you all love swimming. Some of you guys are more sinkers than swimmers, and that's okay. So if you're not great at swimming, everybody can still enjoy the pool. Maybe, if you're not great, just from the safety of the shallow end. Now, at swimming, you guys, we learn a lot of important things. We learn different swimming strokes. We learn different things, about safety. Maybe we'll do like putting a life jacket on in the water. We dive down to get a brick, that kind of thing. So again, swimming, big deal there, but also pretty fun as well, because camp for you guys would be in June. So always a good place to cool down, to have fun with friends. We have like a basketball goal there. We have different pool toys, that kind of stuff. We have our biggest splash competition. So pool, a lot of fun. Now, next up, you guys, these next four all count toward earning your Hunter Ed card. So at archery, we do talk about archery safety. We talk a lot about bow hunting. We will shoot on our range where we have our bullseye target set up. We also go out on our woods trail where we have a 3D target set up, or a bunch of 3D targets, which one of them, I know a myth you guys might have thought of earlier, Bigfoot. Anybody ever heard that one before? You all, I've seen Bigfoot. He's on the Camp Curry Archery Trail, and he's our last target, okay? He is the archery target at camp. We also have deer, bear, coyotes, that kind of stuff. So that's our 3D archery trail. Now, next up, you guys, is hunter safety. This is an important activity to earn your orange card. We talk a lot about firearm safety. You guys will learn how to be safe, and then you'll learn how to shoot as well. So we shoot 22 caliber rifles and our 20 gauge shotguns up on the shotgun range. And we get in orange. We have our rifle with us. We don't do any real hunting, but we kind of pretend. So you guys go out on a trail and you all cross some obstacles that you might actually see one day if you were really hunting, and show us that you could be safe doing that for your orange card, right? We have competitions there too. Now, next up, you guys, this is nature. So in this building, there's all kind of cool like taxidermied animals up on the wall. We also usually go on a nature hike where sometimes you see like living animals running around, right? Because we're outside most of the time. Then we also, in the same building, have outdoor survival. This is a class where you all will learn a lot of things that are important if you spend any time outdoors. You talk about compasses, you talk about like venomous snakes, that kind of stuff. So again, just important survival skills, okay? You're not actually surviving in the wilderness. And with that being said, you guys, it's not hard to survive at camp because we have, food. We eat 3 meals a day. We do have bathrooms at camp. I know sometimes kids ask that, like, what's the bathroom situation? We have bathhouses, you guys, showers, toilets, all that good stuff. This is our cafeteria where we eat all of our meals. We also do our talent show here on Thursday night. We have our movie time every night. And then the other things we do besides our activities are just kind of fun camp stuff. Any kind of camp thing you guys think of, we probably do it at Camp Curry. We, of course, will have our free time where we have like gaga ball, foursquare, kickball, badminton, basketball, that kind of thing. We also have a canteen where you can buy shirts, hats, snacks, stuff that says Camp Curry. And then we have our cabin competitions. We do things like tug of war. We talk about water safety, usually Monday nights. Just a lot of fun camp stuff. And if any of you guys are interested in a week of fun, Camp Curry might be for you. Now, I want to tell you guys important stuff. I know you all might have questions about it, but this is the details part of camp, okay? So I think we got these papers last year too, but these papers are going to have the important stuff that your grown-up might want to know about camp. So if any of you guys are thinking, yes, camp sounds fun, I might want to go, then definitely make sure your grown-up gets this paper. It has the week, so Hardin County goes June 19th through the 23rd. The cost of camp, the website to sign up, so you can get signed up on that website, your grown-up can get you signed up, or they can also learn more about camp on that website. And then in this yellow box, because what will happen is you'll get home and you'll be like, I want to go to this thing, and then your grown-up might start asking questions and stuff about it. If they have any questions for me, they can always contact me. There's my phone or my email if they have any questions about Camp Curry. So if you all are thinking camp, whether it's Camp Curry, a different camp, you definitely want to talk to your grown-up about if camp is right for you. It is 1 week away from home, right? Without, the luxuries of home, without, your grown-ups at home, without your puppy, without your phones, okay? We do not have any electronic devices at camp, so you have to make sure I know, I see the face, y'all, what? But no electronic devices are allowed at camp, so that's something, again, talk to your grown-up about. You got to make sure you're ready for it, okay? It is a big deal, boys and girls. You guys, Camp Curry happens every year. Remember, 4th, 5th, and 6th. You guys being 6th graders next year would have a chance to come. Now, camp every year is the same camp, but if you come, maybe if you came as 5th grader and then you came as a 6th grader, what happens for our 2nd year campers is they just have kind of a couple extra things, like for example, like there's like an extra activity for them. There's on Wednesday night, instead of movie time, they usually go to like a special, we call it night swim. So we have like glow sticks and stuff set up, and they get a swim instead of go to movie time. So just kind of a couple of fun extra things, but it is pretty much the same thing, the same camp. Some kids just like coming, 2, even 3 summers in a row, right? All right, guys, I know I'm not going to have enough time for everybody's questions, but thank you guys. I know 4th grade's about to head in. Thank you all for being awesome. You all are going to stay seated until your teachers dismiss you. But again, thank you all for being awesome listeners.